Welcome back to our journey through the life of a product manager. In this part 2 video, Mastering the Delivery, we're taking everything we learned from our discovery phase and putting it into action. Don't miss this deep dive into the art and science of delivering excellence. Discover what it takes to turn great ideas into even greater realities. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. My name is Erin and Nariha and I are finishing our discussion. Let's talk execution. We've already covered cost analysis, requirements, planning, ROI. We're ready to create the product. How do we begin?
So you start working on it. Now there are different processes in place which companies adapt so that you can coordinate and collaborate effectively. One of the common ones that you may have heard of is Agile. For example, you can use Scrum. Now the goal is to make sure you can work very effectively. One of the things that can come up is scope creep, meaning you had thought that this piece of work would take 25 hours to build, but then you find out that, oops, this is gonna take actually 35 hours. And you still have to make sure that your project timeline is met. Otherwise, you're gonna end up creating a domino effect and mess up with your launch date or postpone your launch date. So you wanna make sure that you're really controlling scope of the work. And of course, it can go in either direction, meaning you realize that this was gonna take 25 hours and it's actually only gonna take 10 hours, which means you have room to incorporate maybe a little bit of more work. So make sure you're wearing a project manager hat in this execution phase. All your team members have the right amount of work, not stepping on each other's shoes, and everybody's really holding hands closely and properly to make sure they are working and marching towards the same goal and working effectively. And while the execution is going on, you want to make sure you're doing periodic reviews, meaning you as a product manager are hands-on to the product, testing it, reviewing it, whatever that is, to make sure that it is exactly matching to the requirements and the definition you had written.
This is great information. Lots of useful tips around the execution, how to run the team, how to wear different hats, and what you really need to focus on. I'm curious though, how does sales get to know what to do, and how does marketing know what marketing materials to create, and how do you get involved with the other departments, and does that happen during this delivery phase?
Enablement and training is one of the important phases. You want to make sure that all the different business units and departments are kept up to speed and know how to go sell or how to market or how to even implement the product. So you want to do trainings with all of these people. Depending upon your team structure, size, you may have a go-to-market project manager to help you facilitate and coordinate these training sessions. For your sales folks, you want to make sure you are positioning the product in a way where they can go entice customers to buy your product. And how will they do that? Well, you highlight the main value propositions in your product. How will the customers save their time and money and energy in whatever they're doing with your product? You also want to think from an implementation perspective. If your product is a software product, how will, once the customer buys your product, do they need any setup or configuration they need to do? Is someone helping with that? Is it self-implementable? So it could also be support, right? Where once the product is launched, once the product is used by your customers, if they have any issues, if they face any errors or anything like that, how are they going to resolve those errors? Are they going to log support cases? Whatever that is. So making sure you're educating and training all these different business units so that they can effectively either sell, market, or use the product.
Fantastic. What great information. All this, and we haven't even launched yet.
Exactly. So now the next thing is to actually launch the product and deliver and ship it. We have to make sure the quality of the product and the quality in which this goes out is clean and top notch. You sit down with your engineers, you figure out when you want to launch it and go live. You can either do this in increments depending upon how big your market is, or you could do it in phases. One of the common things I've seen and personally tried on is figuring out if you want to launch your product in a beta mode or in an early adopter mode, or just blast it out. Maybe you want to just try it in a specific region if it's an international product. And so fine-tuning these details and then launching or shipping your product.
So are we done?
Yes and no. Yes, because yes, we've launched the product, but no, because your work is not done here yet. Now comes the very, very most important part, which is collecting feedback. How did your product do? What is the user adoption? It all starts with sales folks first, whether they're actually able to sell the product. Once they're able to sell, and when a customer buys your your product, are they able to get onto your product easily? Meaning, do they have any difficulties in setting up the product or configuring the product or even using the product? In that process, collecting as much information as possible. Set up some product metrics. How frequently are they landing on this page? Are they clicking on a button on the top right corner of the page or the same button that is present at the bottom right corner of the page? So just continuously learning more and more information so you can evolve the product and make it better.
Thanks so much for all this knowledge. What a gift to share to everyone. What's your biggest piece of advice for executing well?
I think this is from my personal experience. I think the one thing is striking the right balance between trusting the work you've put in and your team has put in, and also throughout that whole process, making sure you were hands-on into the product from the get-go.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more, you can click here for my latest video. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye.